Welcome back to the Courage to Live podcast. My name is Josh Bitsko, and I'm a retired police captain with 24 years of experience. I currently travel the country and teach first responders, law enforcement, and leaders about mindset, resilience, and leadership. Today, we're going to talk about the distinction between wellness and resilience. I think that the line gets blurred between the two all the time. They're connected, but they're not the same thing. Understanding the difference can help you build the mindset to handle stress, not only in your job, not only if you have a stressful career like a police officer or doctor or a CEO, but also in life. Oftentimes, when I was dealing with police officers as my position as the wellness captain for Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, the officers that were struggling the most didn't just have trauma from the job, but they also had life trauma. They had bills and relationships and kids and all of these things that added to the stress of our day to day lives. And building the resilience to handle and mitigate that stress is critical to living the life that we all want to live. But before we get into all that, first I want to talk about what is wellness. So, wellness is your foundation. It's about your daily habits: sleep, nutrition, hydration, exercise, going to the doctor, all the things that contribute to being a whole, healthy human being. Think about it as keeping your baseline strong. It's like fueling up your car, charging your battery, filling your cup. There's about 1,000 anecdotes that come with this. So without wellness, you're running on fumes. Your cup is empty. And, I talk about that when I talk about self-care teaching is if your cup is empty, you can't fill anybody else's cup up. Where resilience is easier to define than wellness because wellness has so many different aspects to it. And resilience is basically the ability to experience stress or a traumatic event and still perform both mentally and physically afterwards. And so, if you think about it, resilience is about having that ability to not break under pressure. And unlike wellness, resilience isn't just about routine, it's built through stress exposure, a stress inoculation, as we call it in law enforcement. So, think of that as a collection of your experiences in the past that have prepared you for this moment when something stressful happens. It's built through preparation and having built the skill set through training, through mindset to experience the things that are happening to you. And as I mentioned, it's also about having the right mindset. And in some of my longer podcasts, I'm going to talk about how to build that correct mindset, how to overcome fear, anxiety, that feeling that you're going to freeze. So in any high stress field, resilience shows up in the middle of chaos when you really need it the most. And I can think of times in my life and my career where I exhibited resilience, and I can think of times that I didn't, because I didn't put the time in to build the proper resilience. So that's often a question is, well, I'm just made to not be a very resilient person. Whereas that person over there, they're just super resilient. Well, much like leadership, which can be a learned skill, so can resilience. And you can build resilience through a variety of different ways. Number one is making sure your wellness is on point, making sure that you are sleeping well and eating well and exercising. If you have a strong body, that lends to a strong mind and being a more resilient person. But there's other ways. And, one of the things that I neglected for a large majority of my life was therapy. And what therapy does when it comes to resilience is you work with a professional to develop tools specific to you. And those tools can help you mitigate stress, mitigate burnout, um, help you with decision making under pressure. So, working with a professional in that manner is imperative to becoming a more resilient person. Another thing is taking the time to practice self care. And this is something that, although I've been on my mental health journey for years, I still at times struggle with. And just last week, I was working 12, 13, 14-hour days on the business that my wife Jenna and I have built. And I was taking zero time for myself because at the end of those days, I'm a dad and I'm a husband and I'm taking care of everybody in my life other than me. And Jenna could tell that I was getting burnt out. So she tells me, hey, you need to go take a couple hours this morning, go up to the mountain. We have Mount Charleston that's close here in Las Vegas, and read. Don't take your laptop, don't work, don't think about work, and just take some time to reset. So even though I understand the importance of self care, the importance of resilience, the importance of taking care of myself, at times just the busyness of life can get in the way. So it has to be something that's front of mind, because if we're not taking care of ourselves, we're not going to have the ability to take care of anybody else. So these two things that I'm talking about, wellness and resilience, you know, currently, if I stand in front of a room of leaders or cops and I start talking about wellness, oftentimes I'm met with eye rolls. And there's a couple reasons for that, especially in law enforcement. Wellness specifically is the hot button issue, right? Many agencies are building wellness bureaus and finally prioritizing the mental health of law enforcement officers. But the problem is, again, because it's not as well defined as, say, resilience is, it can mean so many different things to different people. And every company that's out there that sells to law enforcement is coming out with an app or a program or something that they're selling, trying to monetize wellness. And I think through that, sometimes the value of it gets lost when speaking to officers. But they do work together. So if your body and mind are well cared for, you're going to have more of a capacity to be resilient and to bounce back after trauma. Whereas resilience protects your wellness. And what I've seen is when people aren't practicing and building that resilience and taking care of themselves and going to therapy and doing some of the things that I've talked about today, they're more likely to burn out or have setbacks or spiral when things are going bad. And it also affects our performance on the job, because if we're not resilient, we're not making the best decisions that we can make. So, really, you need both. You need the wellness to build this foundation and that resilience to protect your wellness. So, if you're listening to this podcast, my challenge for you this week is pick something to take care of yourself. Prioritize something for yourself that will help you fill your battery, fill your cup, and make you just a little bit more resilience. Because that's the last thing that I'm going to leave you with today is life, or these big changes, these big, evolutions in ourselves. It's only a collection of small steps. So taking an hour for yourself, maybe going to the gym or doing what I did and going up and reading in the mountains and taking that time to reset, those small changes can be a powerful driver of evolution in ourselves and becoming a stronger and more resilient person. So thank you for listening today. We'll have a new podcast that comes out tomorrow. And every week we do one long podcast and several of these courage casts, which are much shorter. So thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this, leave a review or share the podcast with your friends. And I appreciate you spending some time with me today.